it's very easy, in my opinion, to be top 5% or even 1% of any given population for whatever you're doing, because you just have to take action. You have to conceptualize it, become that person, and get your butt moving. Take action now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fulfillment Project, an exciting episode queued up for you today. I'm excited to welcome Raul Hernandez Achoa, founder of Do Good Work. Raul works with founders and leaders who want more than growth for growth's sake. He helps them build businesses that are operationally sound, personally sustainable, and rooted in excellence. Through his advisory work and his podcast, Raul challenges leaders to pursue clarity, discipline, and meaningful progress in both work and life. You can imagine why I wanted him on the podcast today. He focuses his whole life on the things we've been talking about: integrating work and life, how to have excellence at work and outside of work, how to build systems and not just hope you get lucky one day. Raul, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, Andy, I'm energized to be here, and you're making me sound better than I am, but it's nice. It's nice to hear. Keep it coming.
No, you're better than you are, man. It was a joy to be on your podcast last week and drop it. And it's always scary being on someone else's podcast, but you were such a gracious host, and I'm a big fan. So it's fun to return the favor here with you on Fulfillment Project.
This is going to be fun, man.
I gave everyone a little intro, but take us back to your childhood, Raul. What was that like, and what was the fork in the road? I understand you were just a cut above the poverty line. And what was that like, and how did that form you into the man you are today?
I think it's family life, really. Yeah, that really formed me. I didn't know we were broke. I mean, I knew it was tough. I knew it was hard, but I didn't realize that till like later in life. And then even my mom was telling me, yeah, it was kind of tough. I'm like, I had no clue. But I did know we had like a fridge and maybe a gallon of milk in there. And just so that everyone's aware, it's not like, because I know people that actually like lived in poverty. So it's two lines above was like low incomes. I think for like a family of four at that state was like anywhere between 35 or 40 grand a year, something like that. So it's not terrible. I didn't grow up like I grew up a happy kid, but my parents always instilled. My mom educated us. My dad was working as much as he could, and I think the key thing is the mindset that was instilled, that you're different, that you can do whatever you want in terms of like learning, job, career. And it was just a different thing. We immigrated into the US. So it's just like a different environment and a different place to, a different way to grow. Like I grew up as a minority, grew up in low income, but that didn't stop us. And it was actually kind of fun because my cousins would be like trying to ace all the tests at school and trying to be like, hey dude, we're the only, I mean, this is gonna not to be right, but we're the only brown ones in this room. And like, we're trying to go and like make it happen, but like, that's fine. And that's how I grew up. And yeah, there's a lot of ins and outs to that. And it wasn't the easiest, but it was also humbling. And I'm very grateful for where I'm at.
Did your mom explicitly teach you the skills you picked up, or were those more implicit? Work hard, be creative, don't take no for an answer, don't settle for the D when you can work for the A?
Yes and no. So actually, growing up as a minority, you're taught or to follow the rules to a T. And it was only later in life where I'm like, I'm going to challenge the rules. I'm going to challenge this thinking, and I'm not going to confine, because there's like laws and like physics and like things that you can't. I can't wake up and then suddenly go on my roof. Like gravity's a law. Like it's a thing that actually exists. I can't fight it. If you try, good luck, but I can't fight it. But there are like some human things that are like just made up out of nowhere. They have no moral or explicit or like logical reason. It's just like, this is what it is. Like, why is it the way that it is? So I started challenging conventional wisdom a lot. So I'm a critical thinker, and I really challenge like ideas to find the root cause. Now, never breaking any moral or ethical lines or legal like laws, but it's just focusing on what's the boundary. I grew up a lot around my mom since my dad worked a lot, or even didn't see him for a couple of years. So the lessons were just foster love and care, really. Just like the way that she taught us. She was an engineer by trade, so always teaching, reading, the whole nine. Just a fun childhood. It was like I only have happy memories.
That's incredible. You said something that stuck out to me. As a minority, you were taught to follow the rules.
Yeah.
In today's uh, climate, I would think that'd be the case because you don't want to get kicked out of here. Like you want to stay in America. Was that the idea back then? Or why, as an immigrant, did you feel like you had to follow the rules?
I just feel because I learned everything firsthand. So I had to learn the system first. So I didn't have anyone who went to college here in the US before. I didn't know how to do scholarships. I didn't know how to do these things. So like I don't know if it was like a always a fear-based thing, but it was just also like, hey, like everything's new for the first time. So
Wow. That's a great, yeah, like the rules are set up to guide you along the path. And when you don't know the path, because no one's telling you, because no one's paved the path for you. Another way to say that is when you're paving the path, you have to follow the rules. And then once you have some experience, you know, like you were saying, where you can, the non ethical or moral boundaries that you
you
can
don't do stupid stuff. Like
exploit.
you don't do stupid things. Like that's the key thing. Don't do stupid things. That's the
Yeah.
moral
Hit
and
me with an
ethical thing.
example of a rule you've broken that wasn't moral or ethical.
Just challenging conventional wisdom. Why is that done the way it's supposed to be done? I want to do it this way. Can I test
Like
this
what?
way? Oh, just like any startup that I had, like in college, or any ideas around like I should draw out type of lines, or I should create my own characters in animation, or I could be an animator. Like that was my first early choice career as a child. So it's just like I was a creative growing up, just thinking of creative ways to solve problems or to innovate. I didn't know that was problem solving back then. I thought it was creativity.
That's the beauty of childhood and having two kids myself. Sometimes they don't know boundaries exist, and it's so beautiful to be challenged by them. I've created these boundaries in my mind. I shouldn't do this because I- I'm a dad and I work, and people my age don't listen to music at top volume and dance on the couch and jump on the bed. But it's like, well, why the hell not, man? I want to
Yeah,
live. I want to party, baby. My son said to me the other day, he said, Dad, I was turning the music down and he's like, Dad, let's party. And I was like, you know what? 4 years old, let's go. So I
that's
cranked it and
hilarious.
we ripped it, man. You talk a lot about systems in your work. And I want to talk about this. I think people are interested in this because we all grow up a certain way to a certain family and a certain societal ranking with norms. And you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with. And so you think life kind of is supposed to progress a certain way. And you hit on an idea that excellence is not built, it's discovered. And there's some research around this I want to
Hmm.
talk about for people so they feel the freedom to break out. If you're loving life and you're in peace and you're happy, sweet baby, keep developing and growing. But I think a lot of people out there aren't very satisfied. They're not super fulfilled and they want something else, but they feel trapped. And I want them to feel today like, hey, you are not trapped. You have options. And so the quote from this research is, expert performance can be traced to active engagement in deliberate practice, not experience alone. And that's Kay Anders Ericsson's foundational work on deliberate practice that shows
Hmm.
long experience without structured improvement leads to average performance, while focused, feedback driven practice produces excellence. So, two takeaways there.
Hmm.
One is the one I want to go for. One is the other one I want to recognize and then put on the sideline, which is some old school cats think, hey, man, I'm the old school cat. I'm top of the totem pole. I'm the best. But just because they've been practicing a skill or a trait for a long time doesn't mean that they're an expert at it because they haven't been deliberately practicing and mastering it over
Hmm.
time. They've just
Yeah.
been clocking in and clocking out. It's not the type of person I want to be. I hope it's not the type of person you want to be. So I'm setting that idea on the sideline. The one I want to focus on is with deliberate practice, you can become something you're not. True or
Yeah.
false?
Absolutely.
Everyone, hey, if you haven't already gone over to my Substack and signed up for a free or premium membership, why don't you go do that right now? There's so much stuff. Every Monday morning, you get the newest, latest episode, either a long form or a monologue on a big topic by me. Every Wednesday, you get the self-reflection guide, all my notes, all my memos, and so much more. And by signing up, you will get my free book emailed to you in PDF form right now. Thank you so much. Have you seen it done with your clients?
All the time. That's actually what we do. The sizzle. So I always talk about got to sell the sizzle and give them what they need. The sizzle is growth, profitability, more revenue, more expansion. But really, it's a process of transformation of becoming who they know they can become, and then in placing that trust with me to help them walk with them to become that kind of person. They've also made decisions in their life to improve. Like I recently posted, like one client in particular stopped drinking and completely changed their life, and I was involved well after that decision was made, but they made that initial decision and they knew who they're becoming. Another client, we talked about them facing more friction together, meaning that he would face more friction head on versus avoiding it. Another client would be like quitting doom scrolling and social media. So like all these little subtleties and all these small things sound stupid or they sound very simple, but they actually make radical transformations. Because at the end of the day, when just to allude back of like what we were talking about growing up, you mentioned a lot of the good highlights, but I've also seen like the negative and the bad things, like family, friends, or close relatives not develop into who they could be. Addictions, drugs, even death. Um, so it's when you see that close around you, and you see that a lot of these things, I wouldn't say are circumstance or choice. Later in life, I learned also about like human needs, our identity, how we understand who we are, how we communicate who we are, how our environment shapes part of that, how we decide to observe our environment, how we see ourselves as our future. Um, it helps me understand like all those things aren't you can't just put a judgment label on that. Um, but to circle about your point about building excellence over time and quote unquote following rules, I just learned from other people's lives. What's other people's lives who lived longer than me or who have lived a conglomerate of like different humans saying the same thing principle. I'm just going to follow that principle, and that's how I started picking up the right habits and the right things to hopefully get into what I now am doing. That's more deliberate practice. Um,
And
but that hopefully that kind of
that requires some faith, because when you read things, and funny enough, I started reading a lot after college. After my formal education was completed, my actual education began.
there you go.
And a lot of these things you have to take on faith. You read someone who's made it, they've worked a whole life and achieved something great, and then they write a book about it, and you can learn what took them a whole lifetime to learn in 240 pages.
Yeah.
But I haven't achieved that yet. So I have to take some of their principles and actions and in faith act these things out. And what I found in my personal life over time is it actually works. You mentioned there are rules of life earlier, and there are rules of life like gravity exists, whether you believe it or not.
It's a
Gravity
principle. These
exists.
these are principles or like first principle elements, right? Then there's concepts. For example, if you're following like the AI stuff, Moore's law no longer is really a law, but we as humans said that it's a law. But a true law, a true thing that exists in its essence or its nature, exists without us putting a conceptual notion to it, or because essentially Moore's law of
Yeah,
the,
what
the
is
number of
Moore's law?
chips, the number of like how many, don't quote me exactly on this because I'm not in fabrication, but the number of chips you can put, like the number of processors you can put in a chip, I think it would double every 18 months or every 2 years. Anyways, long story short, now with AI, that's no longer true. So it wasn't really a law to begin with. It was just
Because
our
it's
concept.
exponentially growing way faster than they thought it could.
I just think that, yeah, well, yes, but there's more complexity to that. Um, but just on the point of laws and principles, we can state that something is a principle or a constant, but we might be wrong in the future, which a lot of like discovering physics could show us. Like we actually don't really understand physics. There's a point where it becomes a mystery, and some of my top physicist friends know that it's a mystery at some point. Like we don't know, we just actually don't know. Um, so going back to your point, let's focusing on the true first principles that are constants that we can currently understand and perceive that will never change, but maybe they do change at some point in time or some point at without time. But that's
So
probably
how
past
do
the scope of your question.
well, it actually leads me to a point about wonder that I wasn't planning on going there. So,
Yeah.
but I'm going to put a bookmark in that now to stay on track. How do people know to parse between first principles and truths and some crap that happened to work for someone else? They got lucky. They were successful despite of their actions, not because of their actions. How do you know when you're reading a book or when you're looking at someone's life? How do you know how to parse out truth from luck?
Hmm. That's a really interesting one. I have a couple stories and some interesting things. Number of reps, right? How many have followed this particular methodology or idea and gotten a similar outcome? Thankfully, now with AI, you can do deep research and just tell me, give me the publications and peer reviewed research that shows that this is a principle, not just a fad. So I think that's trends versus principles, or like
Whoa.
truth versus truth versus the fad. But the other thing too is don't place your trust too much in the teacher and the person who's actually doing it, because they're all human, failures, and sometimes we tend to idolize the ones that you follow. So that's another key thing to keep in your mind. Um, so how do I
And then you
discern
can trust
between that?
something they do because they are who they are and not because of the action itself. That's the risk in idolizing someone instead of the first principle or the truth. Is that where you're going there?
Yeah, sometimes people tend to idolize humans, and that's an issue.
One of my favorite quotes by Charlie Munger, who's one of my favorite guys. I think I've read every speech he ever gave. Warren Buffett's right hand man. He said, because Warren and I are really successful at one very small sliver of work, people trust us on everything we
Everything.
say.
That's an
And he
issue.
says, we're idiots outside of the small investment scope and the type of investing we do. We don't know much. And yet people hold it like gospel because it's all true here. And that taught me to identify someone who's an expert at something and to take their word on it for those things. Of course, trust but verify. But but if they're outside of their domain of expertise, they're just speaking on it like I would speak on it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and we tend to do that a lot with culture, and like even people who have like been divorced 3 or 4 times, teaching people how to sustain a marriage. I mean, anyways, not to point fingers or whatnot at different people that are on the pulpit and just teaching weird things, um, or the what is it, the soapbox. But I think if you're going to listen to someone, or just time reveals all lies. So if you're going to listen
Time
to someone,
reveals all lies.
yeah, because in the moment it sounds good, they look successful, but you only have this one moment to make that decision. You should take the plethora of ideas around the field of what you're looking into, create your own concrete thoughts around it, because you also have thoughts. And ideally, you think in first principles and in elements, not on so frameworks. So it's a framework is a Platon, in my opinion, it's a Platonic idea around an activity. You take away the framework for it, and you can apply that framework everywhere else. That gift really is what the gift I have. I can take frameworks and put it in different analogies to different circumstances, customize it based on the situation, and make things happen. So that's one key thing. Time reveals all lies. Look at the frameworks. Look at the plethora of ideas in that given scope.
I love the idea about repetition. If someone is telling you the magic formula and they're the only ones that have ever done it and it's never been repeated or done before, maybe that person has some luck or some magic juju that if it hasn't been replicated before, what makes you think you can replicate it?
Well, yeah, that's also a different concept. But I like the Buddhist analogy of like there's I think there's 8 or blind men, and they're all touching different parts of the elephant, and they're telling you
Yep.
what part of the elephant it is. It's like, oh, it's the tail. Oh, it's a trunk, or what animal it is based on what they're touching. And I think that's sometimes what we get when we're trying to find truth. Now, there's also other ways to like open your eyes and see, oh, it's an elephant. But I think sometimes if you're in the fog of like a different concept, to try to get different peripheries, and then you create your own conclusion, because at the end of the day there is that leap of faith of what it actually is, but also based on the teacher or the person you're listening to, seeing their track record, and not just like the highlight reels, because a lot of the things online are highlight reels. And also just thinking on your own, like creating your own ideas based on what you learn. And as in the beginning, to be honest with you, I just heard good ideas, like, oh, that makes sense, and I just did them, and they worked. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me build my knowledge base through that. So you don't have to do super critical thinking. If it's too much for you right now, just follow good ideas, based on principles that make sense, that don't like overlay any moral or ethical boundaries, and execute, get feedback, and then make your own judgment.
I also think people may get wrapped up in chasing something because the outcome is desired, but the path to the outcome is not desired. For example, someone wants a lot of money, so they get into med school. They realize they hate studying. They don't like medicine. They push through because they want the outcome, and they have a miserable career in school. Maybe they're smart enough to get through. They become a doctor. They have a life they don't want for an outcome that once they achieve it, it's like, was it really worth it? And
Yeah.
many people are chasing outcomes instead of chasing the journey. And so what you said is true, but I could find someone um, making a mistake and getting onto the wrong path and staying on the wrong path, gritting their teeth, white knuckling it, waiting for the destination. And it's like certain things resonate with each individual person, which makes us particularly unique and interesting. And
Yeah.
I'm interested in things you aren't, Raul. And therefore, I can be passionate about it. When we look at people that stand out, they're standing out because they're following their passion. So it doesn't feel like work to them. It doesn't, if they spend 12 hours on a project, whatever they're working on, it doesn't feel like it to them because they're enjoying it. And yet we want the outcome that they've attained. And so we replicate their work and we're miserable at it because we don't have the same passion. So I think
Mm.
part of it is identifying our passions, what we want internally, and pursuing that, because most of life is the journey and just a teeny fraction of life is the outcome.
I would flip that on its head a little bit. I wrote a chapter about this in the first book around stop asking what do you want, because if you ask what you want is an introspection and you're going to be on this vortex all the way down. Like, do I really want that? Is this something that I really want? Is it just a desire? Is it an appetite? And then you start saying like, oh, I want these things and like, this is my passion. But what if the passion is not a good thing? Et cetera, et cetera. I think the bigger question to think about is what am I called to? What's pulling me? Not only just like in the moment right now responsibility or a bigger mission, but also like what are the skills and talents and unique aspects of life that I've experienced that I can apply to serve the other person around me. Don't quote me on this. I'm not a psychologist. I do not recommend this, and I'm whatever disclaimer you need to hear. But I heard that if you want to solve, like, if you have a feeling of depression, not like actual like deep depression, but if you want to solve like a feeling of it, just go help someone else for 3 weeks and you'll get over it. For some reason, we are meant as communal beings to help other people. So saying, "What do I want?" It is okay. It's a good starting point. I think that's level one. I think the key thing is to look at what am I called to, and to your point, what's pulling you. And sometimes that's going to be uncomfortable. And really, when you look at passion, it means to suffer. So it's like, okay, is life to suffer? Because that is a Buddhist approach, that life is suffering. But I think there's a greater energy in the world and a greater way to approach the world, and that's through love. And love makes actually suffering easier. And you hear these stories of people doing enormous feats, but the energy wasn't like I got to white knuckle this. It's like I'm actually going to go through this with love. And some of the hardest things to do are to do that with patience, self composure. And I can't promise that I'm always perfect at that. But I think that's two ways to think about it.
Yeah. Well, and this is the perfect time to bring up your failures because you personally have had several failures. I'm going to mention them specifically. And some of us can feel called to something like this is what we're going to do. You have the whole vision created, and then the vision sucks and it collapses. And I want you to tell us, how do you reorient from that? For example, your nonprofit decals business, your candles and oil business, the donations app you created, your thermos product that was awesome, and your SaaS sales as a service for financial institutions, built it, wasn't what you wanted it to be. I mean, that's a lot of
Those are early
different,
on, man. That's There's
those
even
are a
greater
lot of,
ones that I'll add to the list. These are feedback loops. So the mission is entrepreneurs. Like that was the calling. Correct, because I started as a creative, and so a lot of people don't believe me about that. But yeah, engineering with creative mindset meshed together. That's me. Um, but yeah, those were all like the calling was build, right, create, and help others. Okay, cool. these were just feedback loops. That didn't work. Okay, try something. That didn't work. Try something. That didn't work. Try something. That didn't work. I assembled teams out of like teams that I should have no purpose assembling. And yeah, it sucks in the moment. And one of them actually, I was on TV for for one of those businesses, uh, but back in the day when TV was cool. Uh, but but those are just feedback loops. I think the greater, like, if we want to get really deep, and those are just like business failures. Okay, it sucks, move on. I think the biggest failure I've had, and that this is a maturity thing, was in leadership. Because, dude, I mean, in my 20s, managing 30, 40, 50-year-olds and people looking up to me for direct, and I'm in my 20s, all right, leading companies, scaling companies, helping teams grow, even being in the boardroom, being an executive, like in your 20s. Okay. And I thought I was all that. I thought I was like, whatever. If I were to tell myself what I know now back then, it's like, hey, you're going to do a lot of good stuff. Be, be more humble. Three, understand those around you and be more charitable in your speech. And I think my greatest failures as a leader were because I just wasn't emotionally mature enough. And it's not to say that emotional regulation, but when I talk about emotional intelligence, is every person. This is a principle that I believe to be true. So quiz me on it, or challenge me on this too. Do your own research. But we have an inner dialogue. The most important asset or skill set in human life, I think, is communication, because we talk to three people. We talk to God, we talk to ourselves, and we talk to others. All right. Those are the three most important pieces of communication. And even if you look at like Taoism, or like the logos, or even like the beginning, if you look at John 1, the logos, the word, logos, intellect, speech. So think about that. And then that speech, if you believe in faith, or if you believe, it became man. So think about that. So the most important skill set is communication. And then with that, when you communicate to yourself, you're thinking about who
Wait,
you
I'm
are.
thinking about that. I'm not connecting the dots you are, and you're a lot smarter than me. So can you just draw that out? The logos was the word spoke, man was created. Genesis, he spoke, everything was created, and it was
Well,
good.
actually, it's intellect is eternal being. Eternal being spoke itself into being, and that's what we would call, if you're a Christian, Christ.
Okay.
And then the relationship between both of them is another being. So it's eternal being. It's the essence of being, but that's pure intellect. What
But
we
you're
can think.
creating, I think you're making a point about why communication is so important, right?
Correct. Yes.
Between ourselves, God, and others. Why does that make communication with me, God, and others important?
I'll finish the points. When you think, you're communicating with yourself. And if we look at the schools of not psychology, the schools of philosophy, metaphysics, epistemology, anthropology, and ethics. Metaphysics, what is? Uh, Epistemology, how do we talk about what is? Ethics, based on what is and how we talk about it, how do we behave? Anthropology, what are other people based on that perception of what is? And everyone has different perceptions. But who am I? What is reality? Is this even real? Some people think we're in a simulation, which I think is a very intellectual way of saying that we were created. But anyways, so what is? Then once you understand what is,
Whoa. I've heard the simulation thing. I've never made that. Okay. Raul, you're the man. This is stimulating. This is stimulating.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. This is a lot of the things I think about and chew on all the time. So metaphysics, what is? How do we talk about what is? So this is, again, communication, but you're thinking, who am I? Who are you? In early childhood, you're thinking, is the world safe? And that does impact your self-view, who you decide to become. And I think at age 4 or age 7, like, our personality and its speech is almost like 70 to 90% formed at ages 4 to 9. And then from there, it's like, what is my present circumstance? How do I view my circumstance? You can put two people in two different circumstances, or in the same circumstance, that have different outcomes, because it's perception and it's also what's inputted. Also, how do you view your future? Do you have hope for the future? Do you have fear for the future? How do you view other people? Are they to use, or are you to help them, or are they to help you? Like, what's the purpose of another human being in your life? And then also, what's the purpose of your work? What are you thinking about your work? Who are you in your work? So there's all these different thoughts about what is, and you're having this internal dialogue, and that shapes your world view. And when you shape your worldview, then also that's how you communicate with other people. That's how you treat other people. And other people are behaving based on that worldview and also their human needs. Like if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, very basic principles. They're acting out based on some conditioning, some pre-programming, how they view themselves. But the cool thing is you can change how you see. You can change how you see, and you can change how you talk. You can change how you talk. You can change how you talk to other people. You can change how you talk to yourself, and you can change the relationship with those you have with yourself, with around you, and with a higher power or eternal being. Uh, that in consensus is essentially, to your point, you can change.
Dots just connected in my mind. And maybe you were about to drive this home, but I'm going to interrupt. I'm the host of the show. I get to do that. You said essentially that the word God, or whatever word you use for God, spoke and created existence. At least that was my interpretation of what you said. And what I just heard you say through all of that beautiful, beautiful, all those beautiful words you shared were, we can create and change existence based on the words we speak to ourselves and to others and to God.
We can change our perception of existence. We can't change existence itself. So we can change how we approach existence. When you see what you can actually control as a human, there's very few things that you can control. You can control the words you say to yourself, the words you say to others, the inputs you get from outside, your attitude in this present moment, how you view the future, how you view yourself, the habits that you decide to embark on. Those habits form your character. So you can choose your character. You can also choose the work that you do, what work not to do, and the attitude in which you do that work, which is why I call the company Do Good Work, because it's not a thing you do, it's a way of being.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you because existence is what exists. My work literally changes what exists. So
So you can
therefore,
create
my
more
words,
things into existence, is what you're saying.
correct. Yeah.
I think that's plausible. I think that's
I mean, you're changing existence by your work. Your coaching is changing the way business owners and entrepreneurs see themselves. It changes the way they interact with their employees. It changes the outputs of their business, the outputs of everyday life. That changes existence. You're
yeah,
creating more positivity in the world.
that's true.
Would
I
you
haven't thought
say
about it that way.
existence can be better or worse? I'd say it can be better or worse. And
Yeah, actually,
a lot of
you have
times
a
it's
solid
through
point.
behavior.
You have a solid point. I haven't thought about it that way.
So, wow,
I
I
was saying
can't
you
wait to
can't
relive.
exist. I was alluding to that you can't change some of the principles of like I can't change the fabrics of physics.
Right on. And there's the law where nothing can be created or destroyed. It can merely change form. Something to
Something
that
along those lines,
extent.
yeah. And nothing can be
Yeah.
or can't be, and it's a true. So nothing can be true or false at the same time in the same state. So the first principle of non contradiction.
Okay. So you were talking frameworks a couple minutes ago,
Hmm.
and you can pull frameworks, first principle frameworks out and move them around.
Hmm.
And then from there, we went to talking to ourselves and how we can change the way we perceive the world, the way we interact with the world. Is there a framework for listeners right now that could? So I imagine some people are listening thinking, wow, I use a lot of negative self-talk. Wow,
Hmm.
I drum up a lot of consternation at work because I talk behind people's backs. I'm negative on the company. My
Hmm.
spouse, oh man, I don't bring the best out of my spouse. Oh, I could be better with my kids. Are there some frameworks you can drop into our lives right now to help us with the way we talk to ourselves?
Oh my gosh, how to change? I don't. That's a lot. So principles to change who you are. That's a deep question, Andy. Let me just solve all of life's problems in 5 minutes.
Do it, man. It's a fulfillment project. It's simple.
Yeah,
We do it every week.
right. Oh man. Okay, so here's what's helped me. I learned some of the first principles from Zig about self-talk. So positive self-talk, positive
You
psychology.
talking Zig Ziglar?
Yeah, the OG.
Oh, my man, truly changed my life. If I could have met him, I would have hugged him. I read all his books. I truly want to visit his grave one day and pay respects because it's amazing how many lives he's changed, mine included. So to hear you just
I'll invite,
reverently
we're
utter,
doing an event, so I'll invite you. I'll hook you up.
oh my gosh, to hear the name of Ziegler uttered on this show is a gift. Anyway, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So that's changed my life a lot around positive self-talk, depositing the right thoughts in my mind and honing my focus and honing like where do I put my eyes on? What do I focus on? What am I depositing in here? Because what you put in here does come out. Anywhere early on, like over 10 years ago, 15 years ago, even the music that I listened to, from
When you
any
say in here, you're pointing to your brain.
yeah,
Um, for those watching the premium content, you can see Raul pointing at his brain. For those of you driving in your car listening, he's talking about stuff you shove in your brain.
yeah.
Anyway, go on. Sorry, I
So
didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah, so that's a first level principle. The other one would be the six human needs, and how you're getting
What's
your
that?
needs. Six principles about it's essentially Maslow's that,
Got it.
and then Robbins introduced like the human needs psychology around. We need certainty, we need uncertainty, we need to feel loved, we need connection, we need contribution, we need growth. You can look this up online. So six human needs, Maslow, um, positive psychology, and I think that's a good starting point. And then from there, it's you set your habits. You set your habits of like, okay, I haven't read a book since high school. Put a habit in your calendar, start reading a book. I haven't worked out every day. Okay, put a habit in there to start working out every day. I'd like to become this kind of person. Okay, what does that kind of person do? How do they talk? How do they think? Start thinking that way. So this is again, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, and I'm not trying to say this is a one shot solution, but I'm just sharing like what's impacted my life. 'Cause statistically speaking, I shouldn't be where I'm at right now, dude. Like we talked about in the beginning of the podcast. I should
Yeah.
not. I mean, to statistically speaking, I should not be here right now. I should be addicted to alcohol or drugs. I should be working at a a middle wage whatever job and earning only 60 grand a year.
And why aren't you?
I chose. I honestly, it wasn't like, oh, I chose out of it. A lot of people will tell you like it's all that. One, obviously, grace. Second, opportunities arise, and three, just consistency. Time reveals all lies, and also time creates all outcomes. You just have to remain consistent with very simple habits over time. And I think that's the only thing that I've practiced is consistency. I'm not some great grandiose thing. I didn't get uber successful overnight. I got uber successful the long, boring journey way. And I think everyone could follow that if you just focus on the core principles of your essence, who you are, who you want to be, the contribution you want to make, uh, who you want to help, the emotions you want to experience in life, and then every day cultivate that.
I love that. For the listeners, Raul just mentioned a bunch of frameworks. I'm going to drop those in my Substack article, so it'll be listed real cleanly. So you don't have to take notes or anything. Just go to the Substack. I'll have it all listed out there, those frameworks and principles, so you can grab them. I'll put them in my self-reflection guide on Wednesday, so they're a specific application to your life, and you can break that down slowly but surely. I love that, Raul. I also love the idea about consistency. Some people do get rich quick and they get famous overnight,
Which is awesome.
but yeah, God bless them. I think a lot of times that's luck based and unsustainable. And my proof for that is lottery winners. Really, the most extreme example of someone going from 0 to a billion overnight. You have no framework set up for sustaining that lifestyle. And the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them go to 0
It's
very
a reflection
quickly.
of who you are. I mean, a lot of the things are a reflection of who you are and the activities you take. And maybe to your point earlier, the activities you manifest in reality are a reflection of who you are. It's a mirror. It's you communicating through actions into reality of who you are internally. But having worked with entrepreneurs who were like in moonshots and have exponentially like ridiculous, like I think without a certain level of maturity, then it is unsustainable. But you're right. It is right timing, right opportunity. But also, one of my favorite sayings, and I learned this from baseball, is that if you're always prepared, you never have to get ready.
Yeah. And also, if you want for the masses, for the people listening like me, moderate IQ, moderate background, the only way to create greatness is through sustained, consistent effort,
Mhm.
constant vulnerability to expose weakness, searching for people that will give you positive inputs, and then tweaking. Like I know some moonshots myself, and there are some people that truly just get it all. They get great smarts, great smarts, great intellect, surrounded by great people, and they get lucky with the right opportunity coming at the right time in life, all that stuff. And I love your point of if they're not if they don't have the maturity to be ready for that moment, even that can fail. But some people can hang on to it. I believe that's true.
Yeah, but there's
I
also
believe
so
for
many
the
different
majority of
areas.
us, uh, I believe for the majority of us, me included, it's just simple, consistent effort. It's nothing grandiose. Simple, consistent effort.
Yeah, it's really boring, and that's the secret sauce. I also would say to your point, like don't idolize those who have made it or who have shown that they quote unquote have made it. I've seen the other side of wealth, and I've seen like things that you don't really want to model, and we hear those stories all the time. And it's not just a wealth thing. There's different ways to be wealthy. Just keep that in mind. But in your focus on what are the virtues you're cultivating today. Who are you helping out? Who is in more need right now? Who have you called in a long time? Who needs that relationship, that outreach? What are you how is your attitude at this very moment? How are you showing up in this present moment? Are you even here or are you looking to be distracted? And I think there's a lot of ways like disciplines that you can do in order to be present. But don't take everything that we say with a grain of salt, question everything that we say, question everyone that you listen to in a healthy way, not as a skeptical, untrusting way, but model what is proven. And then just the principle is it really boring? The right habits, consistency. And this is the hardest part for us humans because we have to exist through time and we experience time is you have to do it through time. And sometimes we get tired. Sometimes we get lazy. Sometimes we get metaphorically and physically overweight and fat. This guy I used to be. Uh, but just uh, follow the right principles, and then over time, I think you'll find some really cool things that can happen.
Yeah, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it. But there is a difference between perfection and consistency is not perfection. We all miss a day. We all get sick. We all go through troughs in life and valleys in life. That's okay. You get back on the horse. You keep riding.
Yeah, but have a vision too. I think I'll close with this story for this point, and I think it's interesting. And you said this earlier too, for like, oh, the ones that you listen to, just because they did it doesn't mean they know everything. I've only done like one half Ironman. All right, I've only done it once, so I'm not a pro. But for me to teach other people how to do it, I can say what I work, but I'm not a pro. I bought a coach's program who teaches like I don't know how many thousands of people. That's a proven thing, right? But you have to have a vision. And the reason I bring up the Ironman is I visualized that sucker. I don't know how many months or days or weeks, but I visualized everything. And I think, I mean, if you were to look at me in person, you're like, that guy didn't. I'm not this lanky little guy, or like a super lean, super tight, like one of some of those runners or some of like the ones who do it super fast. I finished dead last. I was slow. I did it by sheer grit and vision. Okay, so you have to have a vision of that future. You have to have a vision and that hope and that motivation. You have to continue to believe and continue to hold on to hope and take action in spite. And that's called faith.
Ooh, ooh. Okay, I want to close the show out on vision. It's something I don't think we've covered on the podcast before. And to lead into that, I want to use a quote that sums up very nicely the previous segment we just finished talking about and leads us into vision. Average performance is the default outcome. And this is out of an Erickson study from the Cambridge Handbook. It says most professionals reach a stable, average level and remain there for the rest of their careers.
That sucks. That's scary.
In the handbook, it shows improvement stalls without deliberate challenge beyond competence. So we need to consistently be challenging ourselves beyond our current competence, which requires discomfort, if we want to grow. If we are not deliberately challenging ourselves, we will be average. It is, dare I say it, Raul, it's a law. It is a first principle. And you can challenge me on that. But how I like the idea talking vision because I heard growing up that you need to visualize things. I grew up playing soccer, and they always say visualize the match. And I never really understood it, never really got it. And several years ago, I started, I don't know if the skill, if like some neurons connected in my brain, something happened where I started visualizing very concretely waking up and working out in the morning. And I'd lay my clothes out and I'd visualize when my alarm goes off, I'm going to get out of bed. I visualize myself hitting the alarm, dropping down to my knees, doing my morning offering and my prayer, putting my clothes on, going to the gym. I'd picture my workout routine. When I started doing that, my workout, the probability of me working out skyrocketed, like not
Yeah.
100%, but probably 90%. And then I thought, whoa, I wonder if I can do that with work. And then I started visualizing my sales calls. And 8 years ago, my business had $60,000 in revenue. And today it has $23 million in revenue. And I've visualized all this. And some would say manifesting. I don't know if I like that term. I don't even really know what it means.
It
But
just
I
means to
think
bring to reality.
to bring to reality. So in which case, there is a higher likelihood that I will meet reality where I want to if I have visualized it beforehand. So this brings me to the quote
Yeah.
about rejecting mediocrity and deliberately challenging ourselves beyond competence. How can we, from your perspective, how have you used visualization to get to the next level, to challenge yourself? How do you use that with your clients? How have you seen other people do it?
Personally, even from the very beginning of entrepreneurship, is just to have a dream. Have a dream and then see yourself doing that and being that kind of person. Um, the way that I use visualization now, I don't do this perfectly. I try to, but at night I have habits of PVT and then the morning PVD. Plan, visualize tomorrow. Plan, visualize day in the morning.
Yeah.
And essentially, and I don't know how much I believe in this, but I like it. Is that, and I don't think this is completely true. So just take this with a grain of salt. Is that as humans, we're seeking an emotion. Why do you want that raise? Why do you want to be on that podium? Why do you want to hit that finish line? Why do you want to hit that weight? Why do you want to marry that person? And obviously there's greater things than just that emotion of the moment. But sometimes that's probably like the carrot and the stick. We want to hit that emotion. So if we're chasing the emotions, I think the key thing with visualization is not just to see it, but what's the emotion you want to have at that very moment? What are you chasing? And then from there, cultivating that emotion now so that you are actually there now. Because the time, I think time it's I don't know if it's a way, I don't know what time is, but I know that we experience time because our molecules are moving so slow. So that's just a different thing to keep in mind. Um, so long story short, having an emotion attached to what you see or what you visualize, it could be simple, a simple visualization. But I knew on this podcast, I was going to be energized. I was not going to be boring and mundane. I wanted to show up with the best that I could to make sure that I produce at least something listenable. So there's that. So visualization, I think it always starts, have a dream. And I think as an immigrant, as a minority, that's all I grew up with, that always have a dream. Don't stop dreaming. Don't settle. Don't quit on your dreams. Even like in my 30s, apparently I'm a dude. Okay, so males in 30s, some can't do pull-ups. Some can't sprint. The number of people that can sprint. Some people can't, like all these different things because they gave up on their dreams. Some people stop dreaming. And life is hard. Life is not easy. I can't guarantee that life is going to be easy. It's definitely not. But the key thing
I
is
can
to
actually
not.
guarantee life will be hard. I can guarantee that right now. Everyone
Life is an
listening.
adventure. Life is a journey. Life is it's an epic. It's for some reason it's that way. Um,
Yeah.
but the key thing is to keep having hope and seeing who you want to be and striving to be. Because the day that you stop striving, you will go backwards. And I think that's a principle of life: is that you're neither steady state. You're either growing or you're dying in a certain aspect. And the beautiful thing is, and to answer the second part of your question, is that you could just do this for one area of your life: physical, body, maybe health, relationships, or maybe work. Just focus on an area of your life. If you follow Ziegler, I think though it's the seven wheels or the seven spokes of life. Just focus on one area of your life. And the fitness is the easiest one because thankfully, if you're listening to this, you're driving or you're moving around, you have a body. Hopefully, you have like a complete health, or that you're working to have good health. Um, but you could probably work out your body, and everyone has that opportunity to work out your body. And when you do that, one aspect of your life that you improve, it trickles down to another aspect of life. You have no idea how long I've tried to persuade, convince, even if I could fly out to see him in person and force him to work out, which I'm not going to tell a client, dude, you need to work out. Like, just wake up early, suck it up. It took forever. Now he's working out in the morning. He's like, wow, this is changing a lot of everything. Like, my work is getting better. Why? Because you become a different person.
So, Raul, I know a lot of people that dream. People are really good at dreaming, daydreaming,
Yeah,
thinking about things they want that they don't have. And it always stays a dream. The bridge to the dream feels too far, too great. Maybe it's not even a bridge. Maybe it seems like a bridge couldn't even get to the dream.
that's
How do
great.
you
That's a
take
good
someone
start.
from having the $1 million idea and dreaming to actually doing something?
If it's a dude, a kick in the pants, and that's who I'm speaking to now, because I can only speak to myself back then. One thing is the dream that you have now. 10 years from now, if you took action, you'll either arrive there even further in things that you could never imagine, better than you could ever imagine. The second thing is to discern, is this truly something that is what you want? I'll finish with this example as well. It's like so I did the half iron. I'm like, oh, I should do a full iron. But then I'm like, why do I want to do that? And it was an ego thing. And like, what is your actual desire for why you want to accomplish something, and is that worth pursuing? And you need to really chew on that and really chew through the principles of what you're trying to do. Or even in business partnerships, is it because you want more faster? Why do you want more? Do you really need more? What's the opportunity? What's the opportunity cost for that? So all these different things, like everyone wants to be, what is it, healthy? They want to be fit. They want to be very prosperous, or more than unreasonably prosperous. This is quoting Zig. Everyone wants to have like that. Everyone wants to have those things in life. Okay, great. You know how many people actually take action in their life to accomplish those things? Very few. It's very easy, in my opinion, to be top 5% or even 1% of any given population for whatever you're doing, because you just have to take action. You have to conceptualize it, become that person, and get your butt moving. Take action now. And when you do that with the failures and the feedback loops, failures are just feedback loops. You iterate, you change, you iterate, you change, you keep hope, keep persistence, and you'll make some sort of progress. So if it's a dream, really challenge it. Why do you want that specific thing? Is that truly in alignment with who you are, in alignment with what you're called to, and in alignment with what the needs are around you? Or is it just a hallucination? Or just like, I wish I could do this, and then you do nothing about it? Then you're a person that just talks about it and is a mediocre person. And I hate to say it that way, but I think we can all have that self-talk about, hey, am I really truly living up to the person that I aim to be, or am I not? And we have to have that face-to-face. The greatest accountability partner is the mirror.
100. I think my second book is going to be titled The Rules of Life, and it's going to be really hard rules based on first principles. Like, if you're not deliberately challenging yourself, you're going to be mediocre. Hard to hear. It's truth. I guarantee it. And Raul, that is so incredible. I always wrestle with smart guests like you because I'm below average intelligence. And to talk to someone like you is so incredible. Thank you. Thank you. What did I miss? What didn't I say? What do you want to share with the audience before we sign out today?
Just choose to be here now. And just do your best at this very moment with what's in front of you.
Where can guests find you if they want more? You're clearly very personable, very intelligent. You have a lot of frameworks, a lot of great things to say.
Yeah, the best place for all business things, if you're looking for growth, is the website dogoodwork.io. That's dogoodwork.io. IO is input output, so you input good work and you output excellence. If you want to listen
I wondered why it wasn't .com. I love that.
If you want to follow the writing where I talk about some of this stuff, but also the frameworks of business, the Substack is the best place. And if you want to hit me up personally, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find that all on the website, so you'll be able to access me directly there.
Raul, thank you so much for joining the pod today. Everybody, have a great rest of the day. Drop a comment. Please like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm if you rate us 5 stars. Please share with a friend. The best way to help Fulfillment Project grow is by right now clicking the share button and sharing this. Chances are you thought of somebody during this episode. You thought, oh man, my brother, my cousin, my mom, my dad, my friend, my colleague should hear this. Send it to them, text it to them right now, and help Fulfillment Project, our group, our community grow. Thank you so much. See you next time. Everyone, hey, if you haven't already gone over to my Substack and signed up for a free or premium membership, why don't you go do that right now? There's so much stuff. Every Monday morning, you get the newest, latest episode, either a long form or a monologue on a big topic by me. Every Wednesday, you get the self-reflection guide, all my notes, all my memos, and so much more. And by signing up, you will get my free book emailed to you in PDF form right now. Thank you so much.